February 20th, 1943, north of Kasserine Pass, Tunisia. That morning, German panzer commanders witnessed something that their reports never truly captured. Through the haze and smoke of the North African battlefield, scattered American Sherman tanks began moving not like a collection of machines, but like one living organism. 5 Shermans, hidden from each other by jagged terrain, advanced with impossible coordination. No colored flags, no flares, no messengers scrambling between vehicles. Yet, every tank covered the blind spots of its partners, every crew somehow knowing exactly where the others were. Inside their Panzer IVs, German tankers struggled through the crackling chaos of their own communications. Their FUG-5 radios, though state-of-the-art a decade earlier, barely cut through the static of engines and gunfire. 10-watt AM transmitters sputtered across only a few hundred meters when the tanks were moving, and most German vehicles couldn't transmit at all. But the Americans? They were talking to each other with radio technology the Wehrmacht didn't even realize existed: frequency modulation, crystal-controlled, 25 watts of battlefield clarity that sliced through engine noise like a knife through paper. 8,000 miles away, in factories outside Detroit, that invisible advantage had been engineered into every Sherman tank. America's most decisive weapon of World War II wasn't steel armor or caliber size. It was the radio signal no one could see. The transformation began on July 22, 1941, when the U.S. Army standardized 3 signal corps radio sets: the SCR-508, SCR-528, and SCR-538, for every medium tank. While German forces were thundering through the Soviet Union with outdated AM equipment, American engineers at the Galvin Manufacturing Company, soon to be Motorola, were inventing a battlefield network. Daniel E. Noble envisioned it. Henryk Magnoski built it. Together they turned a 181-pound box of circuits and vacuum tubes into a lifeline that would link every Sherman in the world's first digital ancestor. The BC-604 transmitter delivered 25 watts of power, 2.5 times the German FUG-5. Its 20 to 27.9 MHz range packed 10 preset channels held by rock-stable quartz crystals. Dual BC-603 receivers let commanders monitor 2 frequencies at once, a quantum leap in battlefield coordination. The real sorcery wasn't the metal, it was FM itself. Edwin Armstrong's frequency modulation tech made AM's static disappear. German radios screeched every time a spark plug fired. The American FM sets transmitted human voices sharp and clean, even during artillery barrages. By November 1942, when Operation Torch pushed American armor onto the shores of North Africa, that advantage was ready to meet the Afrika Korps head-on. German platoons rolled with only 1 or 2 tanks able to transmit. The rest, little more than metal echoes, could listen but not respond. Orders went one way. When command tanks, easy to spot by those clustered antennas, were destroyed, coordination collapsed. The American system turned that weakness inside out. Every tank talked. Every crew could command. At Kasserine Pass, February 1943, the FM network made its public debut. German intelligence intercepted U.S. transmissions and marveled at their clarity. Panzer officers reported that American units could stay in touch from ranges where German signals faded to pure static. Even worse, every Sherman seemed to have full transmission capability. Those 10-watt FUG-5s were falling silent in their own noise, while the 25-watt SCR-508s cut through dust and chaos. The results were devastating. German commanders were left guessing while American platoons fought as one mind. September 1943, Italy. If anywhere could break a radio link, it was those jagged mountain valleys. Yet FM thrived where AM died. The SCR-508 ignored echoes and reflections that crippled German signals. Across ridges and valleys at Cassino, American tanks coordinated blind, moving as if they could see through stone. 1st Armored Division reports called it routine. To German commanders, it was witchcraft. By June 6, 1944, Normandy proved the point again. Sherman's rolling off LCIs talked not just to each other, but to naval guns offshore. German commanders could only dream of cross-branch coordination like that. But the hedgerows revealed a new problem. Infantry radios and tank radios spoke different languages. Tank frequencies sat between 20 and 27.9 MHz. Infantry sets chattered on 40 to 48. When Panzerschreck crews crept close, nearby American troops often couldn't warn their tanks. The fix was genius in its simplicity. Field phones bolted to the rear armor, wired straight to the intercom. By Operation Cobra in late July 1944, tank infantry coordination was reborn. From July 25th to 30th, the 2nd Armored Division under Major General Edward H. Brooks unleashed radio warfare at full volume. 200 Shermans moved like one beast. Every sighting, every call for fire, every shift in formation hummed through the air in seconds. Artillery answered within minutes. German defenders of Panzer Lehr Division, once an elite force, faced an enemy that seemed omniscient. Ironically, Germany had invented the concept of radio-enabled blitzkrieg. General Heinz Guderian had insisted on radios since the 1920s. But by 1943, German industry could build more tanks than it could equip with radios. Out of 5,700 medium tanks that year, fewer than 2,000 got full transceivers. Even at their best, those sets were AM dinosaurs in a digital fight. Motorola's Chicago factory became a temple of electronic precision. Before the war, they built car radios. Now they were producing the nervous system of a global army. Each SCR-508 contained over 2,700 parts, each crafted within tiny tolerances so strict that civilian engineers would shake their heads. The BC-604 alone held hundreds of resistors and capacitors. Output soared 3,800 units in 1942, 11,400 in 1943, 24,000 in 1944. By the end of the war, 50,000 tank radio sets, enough for every one of the 49,324 Shermans ever built. No other country came close to that level of total, universal communication. The Crystal Control guaranteed that tanks could preset channels and stay locked in, no matter how rough the ride. German tuning knobs drifted off frequency with every bump. Dual receivers meant a commander could listen both up and down the chain of command simultaneously. The BC-606 intercom looped the whole crew into the conversation through throat mics and noise-canceling headphones. Some German crews literally had to kick each other to get attention. Power management was another edge. The SCR-508 adapted to 12 or 24 volts automatically, its filtered supply scrubbing out electrical noise. German systems shared lines with engine ignition, turning their own vehicles into static generators. All of this technology changed how the U.S. Army thought. Combat commands could mix and match battalions on the fly because everyone spoke the same electromagnetic language. At Ericourt in September 1944, the 4th Armored Division faced formidable Panthers. Despite thinner armor and smaller guns, radio coordination yielded a 7-to-1 kill ratio. 281 German armored vehicles knocked out for 41 Sherman losses. Reports from German intelligence never understood why. They blamed training or discipline, never the invisible network tying American crews together. They kept targeting command tanks by their antennas, not realizing that every Sherman was a command tank. March 1945 brought the moment of vindication at the Remagen Bridge. When U.S. forces found the Ludendorff Bridge still standing, radio reports shot up the chain within minutes. Orders spread to entire armies in less than an hour. German troops, dependent on telephone lines already broken by bombers, could barely react. American units from different divisions showed up synchronized as though rehearsed. The counterattacks arrived piecemeal and were shredded in turn. A month later, in the Ruhr pocket, 325,000 German soldiers were encircled while their communications collapsed. German Field Marshal Walter Model's final messages: no contact with adjacent units, no communication with high command, marked the death rattle of a radio network gone silent. For American tank crews, the radio was a safety net as much as a weapon. Even when cut off by terrain or artillery, they knew someone was listening. They were never entirely alone. German crews experienced the opposite: isolation, silence. Each battle felt like a solo duel with no backup beyond eyesight and prayer. Even veterans like Otto Carius lamented the blind spots of their radio discipline. Across 1944 and 45, that difference helped the U.S. Army maintain momentum. Patton's Third Army sprinted across France under a web of continuous communication. German commanders simply couldn't imagine that level of connectivity, so they kept guessing wrong. Even Heinz Guderian, now Inspector General of Armored Forces, admitted in late 1944 that American coordination was erasing Germany's technical edge. After Germany's surrender, U.S. technical teams pulled apart captured equipment. The verdict: German tank radios were 5 years behind. No frequency modulation, unshielded wiring, insufficient distribution. The Red Army studied the same gear and reached the same conclusion. They chose to copy the American FM concept for their post-war systems instead of German designs. Numbers told the story. America, over 50,000 full FM transceivers, 100% deployment, 25-watt output, stable to 0.01% deviation, range up to 15 miles stationary. Germany, roughly 6,000 FUG 5 sets for 12,000 tanks, power output 10 watts, range around 1 mile moving. Average American fire mission response: 3 to 5 minutes. German: 15 to 30. That difference was measured in lives. The lessons never faded. Modern main battle tanks still carry the DNA of the SCR-508, now digital, encrypted, and satellite-linked, but the principle is unchanged. Universal communication beats individual superiority. The rebuilt German Bundeswehr of the 1950s taught that lesson from day one. Leopard tanks received advanced radios as standard. Training manuals literally stated, "The defeat of better German tanks by inferior American tanks with superior radios proves that information dominance outweighs firepower." Fast forward half a century. The 1991 Gulf War and 2003 Iraq War both echoed that truth. Coalition forces with superior communications overwhelmed numerically or technically stronger opponents. The network beat the platform again. That's the real story of the Sherman tank. Not its 75mm gun, not its armor slope, but the 181 pounds of radio gear that let it fight as part of something bigger. Each Sherman was a piece of a larger machine, a 49 324-unit network before anyone used the word networked warfare. So when Field Marshal Wilhelm Keitel allegedly said at Germany's surrender, "We built better tanks, but you made yours work together," he may have summed up World War II in one line. From the moment the first SCR-508 radio crackled to life inside a Sherman in 1942, the rules of war changed. The side that could share information faster would win. The connected would defeat the isolated. German commanders never understood that they weren't just facing tanks, they were facing a network. By the time they realized it, the war was decided. The SCR-508 proved that the most powerful weapon isn't always the gun you can see, but the message you can send. Turned static into strategy and noise into victory. In the end, the electromagnetic waves carrying those American voices were stronger than any 88mm shell. Coordination beat caliber. Connection beat isolation. That lesson still echoes across every battlefield today. Because in modern war, as in 1943, communication isn't just support equipment, it is the weapon.